So we wanted to talk a little bit more about New Jersey's Open Public Records Act, OPRA. It is a vital tool for sustainability and transparency. And so last week, both chambers of the New Jersey Legislature voted to pass a bill that guts OPRA, rolling back decades of progress in providing access to records on the local, county, and state levels. So we wanted to welcome in the policy director at the American Civil Liberties Union of New Jersey, Sarah Fajardo. Sarah, can you tell us more about this story and what we could do about it?
Sure. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so excited to be here tonight and really, really grateful to catch the end of the last presentation. That was fantastic. We're uh, we're really concerned about the attacks on democracy in the form of rollbacks to the Open Public Records Act and our access to government records in New Jersey. But before I dive in, I'll give you a little bit of context. My name is Sarah Fajardo. I am the policy director for the last 5 years. I've been serving as the policy director for the American Civil Liberties Union of New Jersey. We're based in Newark, but we are a statewide organization with connections to our national office and national experts. The ACLU NJ has over 40,000 members and growing. And I'm recognizing some partner faces and partner names on this screen. So it's really great to be in community with folks doing really incredible work. ACLU NJ has been doing legal work for decades. We've been doing work in the courts. And in the last few decades, we've done more and more policy work. One of the major areas of work that we've undertaken really since the beginning of OPRA was helping shape the original bills and really tracking and trying to modernize OPRA over the last 2 decades in partnership with many folks in the legislature, many community leaders. OPRA is several decades old as a law. We've all made great technological strides since it was first passed, and it really does deserve an update. The legislative sponsors of this bill have been selling their bill as an update, but the ACLU of New Jersey and many, many other advocates, community leaders, and community members who are familiar with OPRA, as we saw from that last short video, New Jerseyans use OPRA to get critical information that we all are legally allowed to access from our government. It helps keep up with planning processes. It helps us keep up with budget issues. It helps us keep up with, I'm doing a lot of work on the criminal legal front, so keeping up with criminal legal issues that are happening at the state, municipal, and even more local levels. So I don't think I have to convince this group of the importance of OPRA, but it really is some of the bedrock law and bedrock access that not only lawyers and advocates and community activists use, but our press uses this, researchers use OPRA. It's absolutely critical to knowing what's happening behind closed doors in the government, but also holding folks accountable and being able to have a voice, right, in how government is functioning. We've heard a lot in the press about how onerous fulfilling OPRA requests can be. And a big point that the ACLU has tried to ask is, instead of restricting access as this set of bills does, can we instead really invest in local infrastructure to improve access to okay, someone's okay over there. And so I'm going to go through a couple points of the bill that ACLU of New Jersey has found troubling, but really just to zoom out, this bill has been a big fight with the legislature. Many folks have been weighing in, trying to make sure that the bill doesn't limit public access to records. It's still, as it was passed a few weeks ago through the legislature, it still contains some really, really harmful provisions that'll go through, and it's now on the governor's desk. So Governor Murphy has to make a choice soon, within the next 30 days, I believe. It's been at least a week that it's been on his desk, time has been totally collapsed for me at this point because it's been all OPRA all the time. But so he still has a few weeks to make a decision, and we anticipate a decision any day now. He could, in the first instance, veto the bill. So he could send it back to the legislature, say, I'm absolutely not signing this. It's not, I can't put my signature on this, so reject it, and then they would have to start over. He could conditionally veto the bill, which would include, strike out edits. He has the power to provide edits to a bill, and then the legislature would have the option of passing his version back through their process and land that version on his desk. Or he could sign the bill as is. There's immense political pressure about this issue. The vote count at the end of the day was extremely tight in both the Senate and the Assembly. It passed by one vote in each house, to the point where some senators, some Assembly people actually changed their vote after the final vote to a no. So the margins narrowed after the final vote. Yes, we've heard of personal pressure that has been applied to folks related to this bill, and we know that there's a lot of challenges related to OPRA outstanding. So if it's okay for folks, I'm going to go through some of ACLU's biggest concerns, and then I'm happy to open it up to questions, feedback. I know that OPRA can be a contentious issue, so I'm anticipating that there are pain points in OPRA processes, but it's what we have, and it's one of the major tools of government accountability. So a big point of contention in this entire process has been a provision in OPRA. It's really the enforcement mechanism that allows any New Jerseyan to challenge an improper rejection for an OPRA request. So if I, Sarah Fajardo, submit an OPRA request that I'm legally able to access that information, my submission was proper, there's an avenue for me to challenge my municipal government. I can find an attorney to take up my case pro bono. And the enforcement mechanism is really that the attorney, if they win the case, they will be entitled to attorney's fees. They'll be entitled to be paid for their time. If they don't win the case, they don't get the fees. But this is really the only method that's really practicable for folks to, in real time, challenge improper requests and have them actually be fulfilled. And we've seen time and again that there are improper requests that have been denied that you really do need to go to court. So, ACLU of New Jersey, we submit a number of OPRA requests, not on a regular basis, but every once in a while we'll submit an OPRA request. Many have been denied. We'll try requesting again and really try to work with the clerk's office to see if we can, get to a place where they're willing to give us the information. But occasionally we have to work with attorneys to take the case forward and actually sue to get the records. We have attorneys on staff that are able to do that work. But an everyday New Jerseyan who is not themselves an attorney or doesn't have access to an attorney, a pro bono attorney could, if they think that your case is winnable, they could take it up because they'll be entitled to fees. The bill removes the requirement for attorneys to be able to actually recoup their fees. And so we have a real concern that this will have a chilling effect for folks, specifically attorneys, to take up cases. And so we may not see cases that actually could be winnable and were really improperly denied, like somebody really actually deserves and should be getting that information, but they were rejected improperly. They may not get a lawyer. And with filing fees in the couple $100 range in many of the courts in our state, that can be out of reach for folks who need information but are not able to front a filing fee or front an attorney fee out of their own pocket. So that's a big issue, and it's been framed in the media and by some legislators occasionally as, this is like a money grab for lawyers who charge really excessive rates, and that happens rarely. There sometimes are pretty significant OPRA fees, OPRA attorney's fees, but in most instances, it's not the case that they're extraordinary or excessive. So That's really our first concern. Uh, Additionally, there are a couple provisions in the bill that we're also really concerned that they will chill OPRA requests. So one is the bill now allows agencies to sue requesters. It would allow government agencies to sue requesters for seeking records with the intent to substantially interrupt the performance of government function. So what's the issue? Substantially interrupt is a vague and undefined standard. ACLU has concerns that government agencies could readily weaponize that term to retaliate against requesters, and that this would chill legitimate requests, as I mentioned. Providing government agencies with this tool will discourage OPRA requests, as people may be concerned that they could be sued just for making their requests. So that's a real concern for us, and that still is in the bill. Additionally, the bill makes changes about the way the fees for processing OPRA requests are challenged under the Open Public Records Act. So under current law, government agencies have the burden to prove that the fees or service charges that they charge us are reasonable. The current language in the bill that just passed, excuse me, shifts the burden onto the requester to prove that the fees are unreasonable. So, excuse me, I'm gonna have to grab a glass of water. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Take your time. While she's getting her water, we'll remind you that we did put our legislators' voting record in the chat. And as with all these issues, it would be helpful if you wanted to contact your local legislator and tell them how you feel about this issue. So we'd appreciate that. We did share Sarah's info in the
Sorry.
chat as well. No worries at all.
Thank you.
Take your time.
Whew, I'm having like allergy stuff, so apologies. Sorry, Patrick, did you want to finish your sentence?
No, I'm just saying we shared your info in the chat and we're urging everyone to contact their local legislators about this as well.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, and I'll share some resources in the chat in just a moment. So we're talking about shifting the burden to prove that fees are unreasonable, which is pretty outrageous unless you have special information about, why a fee is or is not unreasonable. It would take a lot of work. It would take a lot of expertise to actually prove that an agency's fee is unreasonable. So this was a very strange shift in the bill that we have concerns that it's going to be really tough to challenge fees now. And I'll go through a little bit faster because I know that this is a lot of detail for folks, but the bill also makes it more difficult to send a request to multiple agencies. So it makes it more difficult to send the same request to multiple agencies and allows agencies to deny a request on this basis. So if I send a request to DEP and the same request to a more local agency, they could just deny both requests. That's our read of the language, which makes it really tough if you're looking for information. You don't know which custodian exactly has it. One agency may deny it. Sometimes another agency is more open and has a better process for OPRA, and so it's more likely that you'll get a request. So it just gums up the works. And it also is going to increase the number of denials of requests. And so then, folks are going to have to submit again. It's just going to make things even more complicated and even more delayed for actual flow of information out. The last real point that I'll talk about is that the level of specificity required in requests is much more detailed than currently is required. The language in the bill requires that all requests for email, mail, texts identify both a specific subject matter and a specific time period, in addition to the precise job title and accounts to be searched. Additionally, the language in the bill as ACLU reads it exempts email logs, which has been a really important tool for us to narrow our OPRA requests. I'm going to cough one more time. So for instance, ACLU would occasionally request email logs from government officials or government agencies to avoid having to burden custodians with the full email request that we actually want. It helps us hone in on the actual email conversation that we're looking for, so we don't have to overburden the clerks. And so some of these provisions, specifically the amount of information that's now required when you're submitting an OPRA request, just raises the burden on New Jerseyans and the press and researchers to have foreknowledge of what you're looking for, right down to the title of the government representative that you're looking for information related to. So these are some of the concerns. Additionally, the ACLU has been advocating for a long time for additional access to police disciplinary records. That was absolutely not included in the bill. There's a lot of confusion about metadata and very unclear language about how metadata is going to be treated under OPRA now. There's a lot of difficult language about how to treat records created, maintained, or received by other agencies. So if I submit an OPRA request that might be held by one agency, but it was created by another agency, my request could be denied. And I may or may not know why, right? Like I may or may not understand that it's because, DOJ created this record, but it's held in another agency that I'm OPRAing. So it's going to make everything more complicated. Is the bottom line. And a lot of us use this tool frequently in work, frequently to understand what's happening on the ground in our communities. And it's deeply, deeply concerning for our democracy. So my ask and ACLU's ask is that folks consider contacting the governor. I'm going to put a number of options on how to do that in the chat. But first I'll put my name and my email address. ACLU has an email action option that I'll put in. There's also a phone line that you could call the governor and say something as simple as, please veto, the bill numbers are in here, or veto the bill related to OPRA that's on your desk. You could, if you don't want to make a call, you could text him. We do now have texting capability with the governor's office, and let me get the email up, but I'm happy to answer questions if folks have them.
That was really good information, and we appreciate you sharing. We really do also appreciate the work that you and the ACLU are doing on this issue. So we do certainly encourage everyone to get in touch with our governor and let him know where we stand. We certainly want open public records and access to them for our needs as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And please call on us whenever you need us. The ACLU is excited to be in touch with all of you. So thank you for your time, and thanks for engaging on this.